When you think about the fall of Rome, what comes to mind? Barbarians at the gates, decadent emperors, poisoned wine in marble palaces. Those are the classic images, but they're only part of the story. The real collapse of an empire doesn't just happen with a final, dramatic battle. It starts from within, slowly, quietly, like a poison. And for Rome, one of the deadliest poisons was the decay of its money. Rome didn't just fall because of invasions or corruption. It fell because its money collapsed. The lessons from that financial ruin echo through history, and if you listen closely, you can hear them in our world today. Let's go back in time. For centuries, the lifeblood of the Roman economy was a single coin, the silver dinar. First minted around 201 BC, it was almost pure silver. It was trusted everywhere, from the frosty borders of Britannia to the deserts of Syria. Soldiers were paid in merchants demanded them. Everyday people stored their life savings in them. The denarius wasn't just a piece of metal, it was trust, forged into a coin. As long as people trusted Rome, they trusted its money. But running an empire is an expensive business. You've got legions to pay, roads and aqueducts to build, and endless wars to finance. By the 2nd century AD, Rome was stretched thin. There were Germanic tribes pushing from the north, Parthians from the east, and constant unrest at home. The problem was simple. Tax revenues just couldn't keep up with military spending. So, the emperors turned to one of the oldest and most destructive tricks in the book. They started debasing the currency. Instead of raising taxes, which was always unpopular, they just started mixing cheaper metals like bronze and copper into their silver coins. They thought no one would notice. The numbers tell the real story. Under Emperor Augustus, the denarius was about 95% pure silver. A solid, trustworthy coin. By the time of Emperor Caracalla in the early 3rd century, that purity had dropped to about 50%. And by the mid-3rd century, during the reign of Gallienus, it was less than 5% silver. What was once a symbol of Roman strength had become a bronze slug with a thin silver wash. People weren't stupid. They could see it. They could feel the difference in their hands. And that's when inflation began to spiral out of control. Because the money was no longer tied to any real value, it took more and more coins to buy the same goods. A loaf of bread that once cost a single denarius soon cost dozens. This wasn't just an economic theory. It was a disaster that wrecked the lives of ordinary Romans. Soldiers, seeing their pay become worthless, demanded higher wages. Merchants started refusing to accept the debased coins, preferring to barter goods directly or demanding payment in gold. The economy, which had been built on a foundation of trust in money, began to crumble and revert to a more primitive system of exchange. As trust evaporated, the emperors did the only thing they knew how to do. They minted even more worthless money. They believed that quantity could somehow make up for the lack of quality. It was a vicious cycle, a death spiral that we've seen repeated in every major inflationary collapse throughout history. This all came to a head during a period known as the crises of the 3rd century. Between 235 and 284 AD, Rome was plunged into 50 years of chaos. There were constant invasions, plagues, civil wars, and total economic collapse. Emperors were being overthrown and killed one after another, some lasting only a few months. Behind all this political turmoil was a financial system that had completely broken down. The government collected taxes and worthless money, so farmers simply abandoned their land to avoid paying. Trade networks that had connected the vast empire for centuries simply disintegrated. In a desperate attempt to stop the bleeding, the state turned to extreme measures: price controls, forced labor, and brutal repression. In 301 AD, Emperor Diocletian issued his famous edict on maximum prices. He set legal price ceilings on thousands of goods and services, from grain to haircuts. The penalty for charging more? Death. The result was a total catastrophe. You can't fix worthless money with a law. A thriving black market exploded overnight. Official trade ground to a halt. The people learned a very painful lesson. A government decree cannot turn bad money into good money. Eventually, Rome had to abandon the denarius entirely. Around 312 AD, Constantine the Great introduced a new coin. It was made of nearly pure gold and brought stability back to the Eastern Roman, or Byzantine, Empire for centuries. But for the Western Roman Empire, It was too little, too late. The damage was done. The debasement of the denarius had ripped out Rome's economic heart. Armies couldn't be paid, trade had collapsed, and trust was gone. The fall of Rome wasn't a single event. It was a long, slow unraveling, and the collapse of its money was one of the sharpest threads pulling it all apart. So, what does any of this ancient history have to do with us today? Everything. The core lesson is this: the destruction of a nation's money is the destruction of that nation. Rome thought it could fool its people with coins that looked the same but were secretly worthless. Modern governments believe they can do the same by printing endless paper money, manipulating interest rates, or inflating away their debts. But the result is always the same. It's the people who pay the price. Their wealth evaporates, their trust collapses, and society begins to fracture. History didn't stop with Rome. Fast forward to the 20th century. After World War I, Germany was crushed by war reparations. To pay its debts, the government fired up the printing presses, just like Rome. By 1923, Germany was in the grips of hyperinflation. A loaf of bread that cost 1 mark before the war cost 200 billion marks by that autumn. People carried their wages in wheat. The life savings of an entire generation were wiped out. This economic devastation created the perfect storm for the rise of extremism. Or look at Zimbabwe in the 2000s. The government printed money to solve its problems. By 2008, inflation was so high that prices were doubling every single day. Eventually, the country had to abandon its own currency. The same story, a different time. Even today, in the most developed economies, we are living a modern version of the Roman model. In 1971, the US dollar was taken off the gold standard. Since then, money has been backed, not by a tangible asset, but by faith in the government. And what has happened? Debt has ballooned. The money supply has exploded, and inflation has become a silent thief, eroding the value of our savings every single day. A dollar from 1971 has the purchasing power of less than 15 cents today. The paper looks the same, but its value has been hollowed out. Governments will tell you this is progress. They'll say wages are rising, but they won't mention that prices are rising even faster. They call massive debt investment. They'll point to a rising stock market as proof of prosperity, even though most people own little to no stock. It's the same deception the Roman emperors used. But today, the danger is even greater. Our financial system is global. The next major collapse won't be contained to one country. It will spread like a contagion. And just like in Rome, the cost won't be paid by the elites. It will be paid by the millions of ordinary people who rely on their wages, their pensions, and their savings. The lessons from Rome are clear. Inflation is not an accident. It is a policy. Real wealth isn't just paper in a bank account. It's tangible assets, productive land, and valuable skills. And we should never, ever assume that the stability we enjoy today is permanent. So let the fall of Rome be a constant reminder. When money loses its connection to reality, society itself begins to unravel. The barbarians at the gates just deliver the final blow. The real war was lost long before, inside the treasury. The story of Rome's monetary crisis isn't just a tale of bad emperors. It is a timeless lesson on how fragile a civilization becomes when it abuses the trust of its people and the value of its money. Thanks for watching. If you found this interesting, be sure to subscribe for more journeys into the past to understand our present.